Well, Jeannie and I go way back. Not quite to my very beginning of directing, but certainly we go back to the 1970s. And Jeannie and I have worked on so many movies together. I remember she was on 1941 for a long time, as everybody was. I think 1941 was responsible for moving many stuntmen and women from the Valley into Beverly Hills. I, I think because I remember having several of them come over to me after the film wrapped and said, "We were able to buy two cars for the overtime you paid us for on that movie," and they all appreciated that. But Jeannie has a tremendous spirit. She's a can-do girl. She tries really hard. She does everything perfectly. And she's also blessed. There's something about her where you've got a little guardian angel watching over her. There was a very, dangerous event that happened on 1941 where Jeannie was doubling Lorraine Gary, and it was in the house where this gun, this sort of towed gun, came loose from the hitch and came rolling down the hill. And the idea was Lorraine opens the door, sees the gun coming toward her house at about 40 miles an hour, screams and slams the door. Then the gun's supposed to go through the house. And Jeannie was at the door, waiting for action. We hadn't rolled cameras yet, and the gun accidentally came off the hitch. It released, and the gun began rolling toward the house. And it was just a miracle that Jeannie sensed something. And the last second, Jeannie stepped away from the door, and the gun came through the door, seconds, after Jeannie stepped away from it, and destroyed the set, and missed Jeannie by about 15 inches. And it was a close call that I know that she will never forget, and I certainly think about it all the time. And it was just a little angel on her shoulder that had whispered to her, "Step off your mark. Something's wrong. You're hearing something. You're sensing a vibration. Step off your mark." And she did, and she was spared. And it was an amazing moment. So we've had our successes, we've had our close calls. John Epper, he inspired a great family of stunt artists and advisors to directors and stunt coordinators. Because directors get a lot of credit for coming up with things, but the real great stunt people are the ones that have all the real great action ideas, and they're the ones that pull the director off to the side and say, "Look, I've got a better way to do this. It might not be a better way for you, but I think it'd be really more exciting. Do you want to hear me out?" And I've always found that when I've listened to stunt people, and they've had often better ideas than I have in that world. I don't think American audiences shun female action at all. Look at Alias. Look at the success on television of Jennifer Gardner on Alias, and all the action that she does in that. Look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That is the greatest female action movie of the last decade, perhaps even further back. No, I think with Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider 2, you see some amazing action that women are doing, and I loved Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman, the next Batman film. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was amazing, and the stunts that she performed or her stunt double performed were exceptional.
So it's a change. I mean, it's a relatively new thing, though.
It's a relatively new thing, but times are changing on television with Xena and and some of the and Lucy Lawless. And I mean, she's actually carved a whole new chapter in stunt work for women. That's a very positive thing.
So I don't know. Have you ever worked with a female stunt coordinator?
I have not worked with a female stunt coordinator, but I certainly think that is a good way to go. I remember that one of the worst and best things that ever happened to Craig Baxley is when he was doing a stunt in Close Encounters, and he really injured his leg in a police car. He got into stunt coordination and into filmmaking and into directing. And it just changed the course of his career in an even more creative direction. I think as you get older, somebody with the experience of Jeannie and all the films that she's done stunt work for, she certainly qualifies to be one of the great stunt coordinators. The person who's not joking and who's not smiling and who looks like a surgeon going into surgery, that's the stunt coordinator. That's the stunt man. That's the stunt woman.
So they're not daredevils.
No. No, I don't know any daredevils. Terry Leonard came to me on Raiders, and he said, I tried to stunt for a film I was doing with Bill Fraker, having to go under a stagecoach, like Yakima Knut had done. And there was a mishap with the stunt, and it didn't come off, and I injured myself. And I would love a second chance to do that stunt again with this truck you have here. And I said, what do you want to do, Terry? He said, well, I'd like you to let me, hand over hand under the truck, take the bullwhip, reattach the bullwhip to the back of to the bumper, and then let it snap me taut, and I hand over hand up the bullwhip, and as Indiana Jones, and I get back on the truck. Now that part of the truck chase was Terry Leonard's idea, and it was to make up for the stunt that he felt did not come off in the Bill Fraker picture. I don't call that being a daredevil. I just call that, I thank him for it, because he brought one of the greatest stunts to that entire movie based on wanting to simply achieve where he felt earlier he had not. And I don't think that's being a daredevil. I think that's I think that's accepting a challenge that you feel you failed at earlier in your career, and I always thank him for that. I don't think there should be a Academy Award for stunts. I think there should be. I think what the stunt union is doing right now is wonderful. They have their award ceremony every year, the same way the MTV Awards are around every year, and they're gathering more and more momentum, and more people are attending, and it's becoming one of the most exciting events of the year. And I think it's important to honor your own. My only fear would be if Oscars were offered for stunt work, that's when there might be a tendency to try to dangerously top a stunt in order to achieve an Oscar. And that might put people in harm's way, and that would worry me. When you're working with people like Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise, the stunt doubles have a lot of time at the craft service table, or watching from the sidelines along with me, because they tend to do a lot of their own stunts. There does come a point, though, when the stunt coordinator will come over to me and say, I really want you to go talk to Tom Cruise or Harrison Ford, because I've heard they want to do the stunt, and it's my professional opinion that this stunt has too much risk. And I'll talk to all my actors, and if a stunt coordinator suggests to me that the actor is at risk doing any kind of a stunt, I'll talk to the actor and not say, please don't do it. I'll say, you're not doing the stunt, and here are the reasons why. Often we've had meetings where the coordinator and myself and the actor get together, and the actor says, why can't I do the stunt? And the coordinator says, here are the risks involved, and you need to know the risks. And 90% of the cases, the actor is going to take a step back and say, you're absolutely right, and I got to give my stunt person something to do. I think with me, though, I always prefer to have the stunt people do most of the stunts that have anything to do with high falls, that have anything to do with flying glass near the face, have anything to do with any kind of a fender bender. I'm a real wuss when it comes to, my actors who are trained to act, not really trained to stunt, wanting to get out there for bragging rights to do these stunts. Now, Tom Cruise is a stuntman. Tom has done stunts his entire life. He is trained as any stuntman is trained, and probably can do stunts as well, if not better, than some of the stuntmen out there. I hear the boos right now coming from the audience. Yeah. But I wouldn't let Tom do about 15% of the stunts that he even wanted to do in Minority Report. He did 85% of the stunts, but 15% of the stunts, I just, Smurs and I would get together, and Smurs would just shake his head and say, I don't want Tom doing this. Well, a stunt used to be defined as falling off a horse. And I used to notice, watching all the old Westerns, how it was very interesting that during every horse chase, when the person fell off the horse, they never hit flat ground. They always hit the edge of a small hill and rolled to the bottom. And when I was working with Mickey Moore, who was my second unit director on the truck chase on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Terry Leonard, Mickey and Terry had everybody, all the Germans on the truck, hitting these hills and rolling down these hills. And I said, guys, can you answer me a question? All these years I've wondered, from all the westerns from the 20s and 30s, the silent days, how come stunt people don't fall off their horse and hit the flat ground? Why do they always roll down these hills? And Terry Leonard said, well, two reasons. One, it prolongs the stunt, makes it more exciting. There's more sort of an aftermath to the stunt. They roll down a hill, go through some bushes, hit a tree. It's more exciting. And the second thing is it's safer. It doesn't hurt so much because the hill decelerates the fall, and you come to a nice gentle stop at the end of it. And I had never known that before. So my first appreciation as a child growing up with movies and television was always the Western. And that's where I first began to appreciate what a stunt man and woman does.